Before we begin, please know that all of us at NYU hope that you and your family are safe and well in these unprecedented times. Today's session features a conversation between Sonjii Ivey, an alumna of both Washington Square College and Stern, and the president of the College Alumni Association, and Noah Mullenix, the vice president of the CAS Student Council, a graduating senior and an East Asian Studies major. If you have questions during the session, please enter them in the question box on your screen. We will get to as many questions as we can at the end of the program. Thank you for joining us. Sonjii, I will pass it over to you. To start, what's going on with work for you?
Thank you, Heather. I'm happy to be here, and I hope you all out there are safe. Well, work is going well. It's been interesting, this transition to working from home. About 6.5 weeks ago, employees of my firm, Bank of New York, Mellon, Pershing, shifted to a work from home environment, and that's across the globe. And I'm so grateful that my firm is very supportive. They've been very supportive of us because, you know, we're all in this thing together. So they recognize that we are really challenged and stressed, the employees, not only the stress of trying to stay healthy during this time, but many of us have families at home. I live alone, but many of my colleagues have, you know, they've got their children at home, so they're juggling between trying to be productive at work and taking care of families and so forth. So it's been a very stressful time. But my firm has been encouraging us to do whatever we need to do to stay healthy and sane, whether it's taking breaks or exercising during the day. So that's been great. I've had to make a couple of adjustments professionally. One is I live in a small apartment in Brooklyn and I have no space for an office. So there's, you know, like the chair that I sit in is not ergonomically designed, for example. So I do have to take a lot of breaks during the day to stay sane. I also think that I live next to two of the busiest streets in Brooklyn. So all day, literally, I hear piercing sirens, emergency vehicles, horns honking, and it's very stressful and very irritating when I'm on call. So I've had to figure out how to manage the noise level by like closing my windows, closing the doors. Of course, I even have these sound absorbing foam pads that I use sometimes to put up against the window for sound barriers. So there are multiple ways that I've been employing to just stay sane and healthy working from home. I miss the in-person interaction. The isolation gets very difficult for me. So what we've done at work is we're really emphasizing using webcams to help us all stay connected, and that's been really helpful. Noah, what are some of the things that you're doing? How's it going for you?
Yeah, thank you. And thank you everyone for being here. So I'm in the middle of writing my senior honors thesis right now. So truth be told, I probably should have spent this whole time period locked in a room anyway, making sure that I actually do the work for that. But yeah, it's been a weird transition, especially being a senior, kind of missing out on a lot of those like big senior week events that were supposed to be happening right now. Looking into, you know, the traditional graduation, it's still going to happen, just not on the same date. And so there's definitely been like a disconnect between everything that I'm kind of working on for school and then sort of those enjoyable moments from senior year that are supposed to kind of balance out the more stressful parts. But I'd say I've been managing pretty well. And I think similarly, I miss a lot of the human interaction, but I've been lucky enough to have friends that can hop on Zoom calls on Friday and Saturday nights, and we'll do game nights and wine nights and things like that. So I've been able to stay in touch, and in some cases, I think more than I had been before, just because I was caught in kind of the bustle of the city life, for lack of a better phrase. So yeah.
Yeah, some of the things that you mentioned, you know, virtual events, happy hours and so forth, those are some of the ways that, you know, that we're keeping our spirits up during this time and trying to stay positive throughout all of this. You know, one of the things that I really miss is working out at a gym. I miss the energy of that. And so to keep my spirits up, the gym that I belong to has been hosting virtual classes, and I've been taking them. You know, I take them sometimes during the day. I take them right after work. So yoga and Pilates are two of my favorites, and I also take some strength training. What are some of the other things that you do?
Yeah, I'd say fitness is definitely something to keep up with. So I went from walking probably 6 or 7 miles plus every day to maybe doing 0.0067 every day. Um, so I've definitely been trying to keep up with that. Sometimes I'll, just go walk outside around the house or down the street or something like that, maybe go for a drive. It's really important to me to kind of break up all of the meetings that you have throughout the day in the same way that you would have, when things were, I guess, more normal than they are now. I've also been trying to do some things that I didn't let myself have time for that I used to enjoy. So spending time listening to podcasts and doing things like that, where when I'm really caught in like a productivity tunnel, I won't let myself do that, but I've been listening to some. So things like Invisibilia from NPR are really cool. There's one that I don't listen to as much that's been doing like a fundraiser recently. So they just came off of donating like $100,000 for the bushfires in Australia, and now they're shifting to doing like $200,000 worth of kind of just like kindness grants to people that are having hard times right now. So it's been cool to see some of those things and let myself be a little bit less productive, but treat myself more nicely. So yeah.
Right. So you mentioned about music. One of a good friend of mine very recently, he said, music really soothes the soul, and it is so true. So what I've been doing is listening to, and which is one of the ways that I'm lifting my spirits during the day, is to keep, in my case, jazz. I keep running in the background, and it not only helps me stay relaxed, but it really does help me focus throughout the day. So that's now a practice that I use, of listening to music during the day, as well as sharpening my cooking skills.
Yeah, I try to listen to music with headphones on, because when I have it connected to like Spotify on my laptop, it's kind of a physical tether where I'm like, all right, I can't get up because then I have to annoy myself by taking everything off. So I'll sit here for a while, get some work done, listen to some nice music. The genre kind of fluctuates with my mood, but I think it does kind of ground me in whatever I'm doing for the moment. Maybe not as peaceful of an answer as yours, but it's the same effect.
So just a couple of other things that I'll share is I never thought that I would be a binge watcher, but that's one of the things that I've become during this pandemic. It actually does help, just kind of immersing myself in not right now, by the way, I'm watching Ozark, so that's what I've immersed myself in on Netflix. So that's one thing. And just one last thing is, and I'll just share a story to tell this one. Recently I talked to my mom and I said, hey, Ma, is there anything you need? Meaning, do you need money? Do you need financial assistance? And she said, no, I don't need anything. I'm fine. I'll let you know if I need help. And I asked her again, I said, hey, but really, Ma, do you need anything? Well, no. If I need help, I'll tell you. I don't want to burden you. I said, but let me tell you something, Mom. I have no dry cleaning bills. I have no entertainment expenses. I'm not booking trips. So I have no airline expenses, no spa, no expensive salon visits. I'm not going out with friends to dinner. So in other words, one of the things, I'm saying all of this to say that although I miss my pre-COVID life, one of the things that I'm grateful for, one of the things that keeps me in a positive spirit, is the fact that I'm saving so much money right now. So that's another thing.
I feel like I'm unfortunately kind of on the opposite end of that spectrum, just in the sense that we had the rest of our housing cost for the rest of the year that we're not in housing anymore refunded to us. And I had, some things that I probably wouldn't have otherwise bought that I was maybe like, ooh, I can do this now. And so I got myself a desk for at home. That one felt like more of a necessity. Just having a good workstation and being able to actually have a place to sit down to write my thesis that wasn't a dining room table. But I don't know. I feel like that's more of a personal thing of me just not being great at managing money. And so we'll see how the savings versus checking balance works out here at the end of this. But I'm trying to stay responsible and fall more in line with you there.
Well, you know what, I would have done exactly what you did. If I have no space in my apartment, or else I would have a desk and, you know, a chair. So I just had to do a makeshift workstation here in this small space that I have. So the other thing too is, you know, we talk about staying connected. You know, there's a lot of talk about ways to stay connected. And one of the things that I know that I've been doing is just to stay connected with family and friends through this video conferencing and video virtual happy hours and so forth. And because I live alone, one of the things it's really tough for me, as I mentioned before, is the isolation. And that's something that I find that I have to just do throughout the day to stay in touch with the people that I love dearly. And that's helping me cope and get through this.
That's wonderful. And it's great to stay in touch with people. And I think, like I said earlier, sometimes you find yourself being a little bit more in touch with people because you feel like, oh, I really need to talk to somebody. Let me, you know, make sure that I spend this time with family or with friends. I fortunately have had a couple of meetings for different student government things that were able to shift from like noon to 10 p.m. And then we made those meetings where we are productive and get things done, but also kind of wine nights and hangouts, and we're playing, you know, online games that we can do with each other and things like that. So just finding the ways to kind of shift your schedule around that has the added benefit of being accommodating for people that are on the other side of the globe right now that wouldn't have been. But I really agree that just having that contact with people, staying in touch, making the time to have a phone call or a Zoom call is really important.
And so, Noah, how are you, shifting on to another question, how are you staying connected to NYU? What are some of the other ways that you're staying connected to NYU? What are some additional ways?
Yeah, so through CAS Student Council, we've had the privilege of this whole year, but especially right now, working really closely with Dean Jarrett and the Dean's office, kind of helping to take in the, you know, student experience and share that information and then share resources with everyone. So I think that's been a really, really good relationship. And it's sort of those things like, oh, maybe we're doing something that we weren't going 100% on before, but given the circumstances, we really have the chance to shine in terms of like advocacy and things like that. Also just trying to find ways to supplement some of the events that we would have had. So we unfortunately missed everybody at the student alumni banquet a few weeks ago. But I know that there are probably some things in the works to kind of supplement that through the association. Also just through student government, it's election season. So literally kind of helping to plant the seeds and get things going for the future. So those are some of the more structural ones. And then organizations like our senior class activities board are doing a senior spotlight every day and doing different photo challenges. It's almost like having a second Spirit Week after Violet 100 in February. So there are a lot of ways that people are still engaging with each other. And I think part of it just goes to that need for like having that experience and having that extra step of kind of connection to the university. And just to show off a little bit, I didn't have my cap delivered in time. They're on their way right now, and the university is helping us get those for free currently. But I did get my graduation tie.
Very nice.
Purple here, so just wanted to make sure I had the opportunity to show that off. But just finding ways to still hold on to, you know, school spirit and everything like that. And that's also why I chose my virtual background as a Hemmerdinger, just to kind of literally stay connected to some of the spaces that we would have been in during this time.
Yeah, this whole pandemic is really forcing us to be creative and innovative in terms of how we stay connected with each other and how we continue to promote programs and our interactions. So that's, I would say that is a positive thing to come out of this, as well as helping us really to appreciate our relationships and the people people who are really dear to us, right? So those are all, I think, positives from this. There's the Violet Network that I want to mention. It's a new mentorship platform that NYU is launching. And again, around in the spirit of, staying connected, that's something else that I wanted to mention. Hey, events like this, the conversation that we're having, right, is helping us stay connected, and also supporting the class, this year's class. So I know that I sent my support, and a number of us have done that as well. So those are just some of the ways. There are a couple of questions that have come in. And the first one, I'd like to shift and answer a couple of these questions. We got some great ones in. One is this is a fun one. What is the one thing that we hope will continue after COVID? I'll toss that one to you. You could answer that one first.
I would say, and this is more of a personal thing, but something I also hope will carry over to everyone else. I hope that I stay forgiving to myself in terms of, oh, I had to take a break and watch a few episodes of TV or play a video game or go outside or something like that. Usually I just get into such a bubble of, all right, this is everything I have to do right now. And lately I've been kinder to myself, and I've let myself take those moments. And I think that I really hope that that continues both for myself and for other people that have been able to do that.
Right.
How about you?
I'll tell a story for this one. When we first started working from home, and we were all trying to figure out, okay, so how is this going to work? What are we going to do with ourselves, after hours and so forth? I took a walk with a friend of mine. We were socially distant. Good friend of mine who lives in the neighborhood, and we just took a long walk in where I live in Brooklyn, and she said to me, do you know doesn't the air feel cleaner? It just seems a lot cleaner to you. And I said, you know what, you're right. The air is cleaner. I mean, I can breathe more easily. There was a difference. And sure enough, one of the benefits of this is it's given our planet a break, I think, and it's really helped the environment. And that's one thing that I hope that will continue after this crisis, is we can continue taking care of adopting some of the practices that were so beneficial to the environment. The birds are happier, they're chirping more. So that's what I would hope would continue. Another question that came in, another one, is there a project or hobby or craft that we picked up during this time?
See, I just answered the last question talking about how I've given myself a break, but I'm realizing that that's kind of, I wouldn't call Netflix or a video game maybe a hobby. I've kind of had to stay in some part focused on getting writing done or other things going on. But I would say I've started to draw a little bit more. That's something that I used to do, and it's just kind of a nice creative release, especially if you've been stuck on a spreadsheet or something all day, and then you can just take a moment to be a little bit more expressive. They're not good, but they're drawings, they're mine, I can call it that. So I think things like that have been nice, just little creative outlets. I know other friends have been learning sewing and knitting and things like that, sometimes just to pass the time, but I think they have some fun with it as well.
Is that something that you think you'd want to really continue? Drawing?
I hope so. I want to start doing it more often, maybe incorporate it into my schedule a little bit. I always get nervous when I say, all right, this thing that's a fun creative release, let me schedule time for it. But you kind of have to. You kind of have to make sure that you still have that window in other circumstances as well. So I think I would. And what are you doing with some hobbies or things that you've picked back up?
Well, I have definitely sharpened my cooking skills. So that's one. I would like to learn to knit. That's been on my list of skills or hobbies that I'd like to pick up. So that's my next thing. So I'm going to continue with the cooking out of necessity, really. So I'm sharpening those skills, and I want to learn how to knit. Let's see, what's some others coming in? Oh, here's another good one. What ways are you keeping yourselves motivated to be productive? I can self-soothe all day, but getting really productive seems harder. Well, I could start with that one. One of the things that I mentioned is the importance of taking, like, which works for me, taking mini breaks throughout the day. It just helps me kind of reset, and then I can go back to doing what I was doing and stay focused. The other thing I mentioned is the importance of for me, of music. In my case, jazz, that I keep playing in the background very low. I find that helps me to stay motivated and focused as well.
I noticed that Andrew in that question added, I feel like I was getting carpal tunnel through all of this. I actually went out and got it's an ergonomic keyboard. That was another one of those purchases where I was like, dang it, I kind of feel like I have to with the amount of writing that I have to do right now. And it's been really helpful because sometimes when you get cramped up and you get so like in kind of this pose here, like a T-Rex, when you're at your computer, you literally have to stop working for a while just to let yourself recover from that. So this has been nice, just in terms of like the physical changes that I've made to stay productive. But again, echoing what was already said, I think music is really helpful, just something that's kind of going in the background but still enjoyable and filling up your mind a little bit. Things like that are always really good.
Yeah. And there are a couple more. There are a couple more here. This one is for you, Noah. How are you thinking about life after graduation?
Yeah, so luckily, I guess I would say for me, I'm a 5-year BA MA student, so I'm staying at NYU for another year. So that has made the job question a little bit easier because I've been able to push that off a little bit further than a lot of my peers have. I mean, it's still a little bit worrying, like, oh, what is the job market going to look like in a year from now? But I'm luckily in a place where I'm still going to have kind of the support of this community in the NYU community for another year, more intensely as I'm like literally in the location. And then in terms of work, I had a part-time job during the school year in the city that I haven't been able to do just because I haven't had a place to live there. But I have a really good relationship with them and they've been super supportive this entire time. So I'm hoping at some point in the summer and then throughout the next year to go back to that as kind of the short-term answer to that. But those are some of the things I'm thinking about. I can luckily push off those thoughts and those troubles a little bit longer.
And here's one that's directed to me is, how do I think New York City will change after the pandemic? I think that people will be, just in general, will be more mindful about large gatherings and crowds. I think people will be more respectful on, let's say, crowd, on subways, for example, subway platforms, subway cars. So I think overall, New Yorkers, or at least I would like to think, I hope, that New Yorkers are just more mindful to the extent that we can about personal space, and not stepping on people and coughing and breathing on people, which is what was happening pre-COVID.
Yeah, I would just add to that by going back to one of the questions that was answered earlier, what do you hope continues? I started seeing those videos of the subway platforms getting sprayed down and disinfected, and I really hope that that continues into the future. I saw those videos and I was like, they can do that? They have the tools for that, so I do hope that continues as well, just kind of a better atmosphere on that.
Yeah, it makes you wonder why. And so now, why wasn't that happening before?
Yeah.
Let's see. What's another question? Okay, what do you consider a luxury now in the current situation that you didn't think of as a luxury before? This is a two-part question. So, what do you consider a luxury now that you didn't consider a luxury before? And the second part is, what do you look most forward to when things revert back to normal?
Um, I'll go ahead and jump into this one. I think a luxury for me, and this is, I mean, it happens in the city often enough, but also when I'm back at home, it applies too. Being able to sit down at a restaurant, and not necessarily a high scale fancy restaurant, but just a restaurant, and kind of getting that feel and the kind of atmosphere and conversations that come along with that. That's something that I definitely miss right now, and especially since my favorite Mexican restaurant is now a few blocks up the road and not 500 miles away. That's definitely been pulling at me. Um, and I think I'll just add to that for the second part of the question by saying I look forward to going out to a nice meal at a restaurant with some friends or with family after this is over.
Ditto to that one, the same. I think what I consider a luxury now is just being able to, when I take a walk, just being able to browse and go into, let's say if I see something interesting, I can go into the store to take a, or, just to browse and look around. I can't do that now, so which makes it's kind of boring. I mean, it's great to take a long walk, but I can't do anything. We can't do anything. We can't go anywhere. We can't go into a store or shop or anything like that. So I think that's something that I will actually look forward to also when this is all over. Let's see some other questions that have come in. There's a question about your thesis.
Yeah, so I'll be brief on this because I don't want to bore anybody too much. I'm basically writing about media and translation and how a lot of times translation and bringing like a TV show or a movie or something over from another country that was originally in another language is seen as kind of bringing two communities or two nations or something like that together. And I'm kind of pushing back on that a little bit and asking if establishing those two places as separate happens because you're translating between the two of them. So looking at kind of the crossovers between translation, culture, language, media, and also putting a nerdy twist on it. I'm focusing on things like Pokemon that was big in Japan and is still big all over the world, how that was brought into the United States and how that's changed over the last 20, 25-ish years. Because I want to go into that field, I guess, of kind of media and translation, and I want to make sure that I'm doing it with a good interdisciplinary understanding in mind. So that's kind of what I'm writing about.
Very interesting. Very interesting. What is there? I'm trying to, let's see, what other questions we have. What are you doing after graduating this year? That's another one that came in.
Yeah, I was kind of looking forward to maybe doing some travel plans for the summer right after graduation. So we'll see how things go with that. I want to be very cautious, have an abundance of caution when it comes to travel and everything like that, moving into the next, however many months, even after things are eased up with restrictions on things. I was planning with some friends from the last couple of years of student council, like a 4th of July weekend thing in New Jersey, hopefully. So we'll see if that can still happen. But the focus is really on maintaining those relationships with people that I met in college, which is, I mean, thematically goes really well with the association. So yeah.
It's interesting that you said travel. About travel, that's like just in my distant. I can't even think about traveling right now, but that is something that I do at some point hope to do again. Let's see what else has come in. Yeah, so to that last comment, here's the question: what's the first thing you like to do when everything opens up, when the city opens up? And what is the retail service you think is the most essential?
Do you want to take this one first?
You start. You take this one.
Okay. All right. When the city first opens up again, I will return to it. That'll be the first thing that I do. And then I'll probably again, letting myself have time for things that I've stopped having time for over the last few months. I would probably go to Central Park and spend a couple hours just walking around, taking pictures, enjoying the sights, everything like that. And the retail service that I think is the most essential. Sidestein Market, does that count as a retail service? That's where I got all of my groceries and pens and pencils and stuff like that, just next to the dining hall within NYU. So I don't know if that's the best answer for this, but that was pretty essential to me. And it was also nice seeing all of those employees that are also part of the NYU community, kind of going in there daily or a couple times a week and just having those relationships is really important to me.
Yeah, I think, I agreed. I mean, I think that the first thing that I would probably do is get my hair trimmed. I mean, that's something that I've been attempting to do. I tried to do myself and I didn't do a good job. And that's going to be the first thing that I do. And another question is, are you optimistic that things will be better once it's all over? Once we get past this, are you hopeful? Are you optimistic that things will be better? I'll start with that. Yeah, I think so. I think that things, look, I'm going to be positive and I'm going to say that things will be better. I'm going to say that I think that we'll be more, I hope I'm right, that we'll be more respectful to our environment and to each other. So I'm going to say, yes, I'm optimistic.
I would say I'm optimistic that I think there's been a lot of good happening through this whole thing, and because of how much the world just keeps bearing down on us, we can't really focus on that all the time. Like, I'm pretty sure a day or so ago, NASA released some UFO videos, and that would be, huge news, and people would be freaking out about it and trying to learn more. And I feel like it's just kind of fallen to the wayside. And so I'm excited to see in sort of the aftermath of all of this, some of those, big interest pieces that couldn't be focused on, or just a lot of the stories about how people were kind and united and came together during this time. So I'm optimistic as well.
And you know what? We're hearing those stories now, so every day. So hopefully that will continue. Well, that's it for the questions. This has been great. It's been a great conversation. No, I really enjoyed it.
Me as well. Thank you.
Now, Heather, did you want to say a few words?
Yes, a big thank you to everyone for joining us, and especially to you and Noah. It was great to hear how you're spending your time and your thoughts about the future. And we're excited Noah continues to be an NYU student for one more year after this. And thank you for mentioning the Violet Network. For everyone who's listening, if you're interested in having your own conversations with fellow alumni or with students, please sign up for the Violet Network. It's NYU's new mentoring platform. And it's at violetnetwork.nyu.edu, which I'll show you on the screen. Have a wonderful evening, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us. We hope to see you at our next event online. Thank you.
Thank you all. Stay safe.
Thanks, everyone.
That was good. Are you still on? Can you stop sharing your screen? Sharing your video?